Can everyone hear me in the room? Cool.
Yes.
Online, can you give a thumbs up if you can hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. We're all good. Thank you to everyone for coming to our final day of the AgBioData 2026 workshop. Um, it's been great to have you all. I think we had some good progress on our agenda yesterday and Monday, and we still have a little bit to go today, but thank you for coming, and I think we made good progress. Before I start out with the AgBioData Awards ceremony, just a few logistical items. So for those of you in person, you should have been assigned to a shuttle/driver to get you back to the airport. So, revisit the email that you got from Lauren, and Lauren is back there with the schedule in case you don't have it, and it will be out by the tables out there, right? And there'll be a packed lunch for you to take away at 12:30. If you leave before 12:30, Lauren said she might be able to scrounge you up some leftover ribs or something. So just let Lauren know. Yeah. And on that note, I wanted to mention, so since Lauren has to go to a meeting, she's been amazing at helping us. So big round of applause for Lauren. Um, yes, she has coordinated all of the, in-person logistics here for us and for our trips, et cetera, and has attended all of the organizing committee meetings and been incredibly patient with us while we were, arguing about details that she probably could care less about. So, and really always steering us in the right direction for what we need to accomplish for logistics. So thank you, Lauren. Here are some flowers. Appreciation. Yes. All right. Okay. So then, any other logistics that we need to talk about, David, Marcella? We're good? Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there'll be an evaluation at the end. So you will be emailed a link, I think. Please fill it out. It's important for us if we're able to do these things in the future to understand how we can improve and make these things better. So appreciate it if you pay attention to those emails and take a bit of time to fill those out. All right. So now I'm going to segue into our award ceremony. Oh, great. It was working. Just do this here. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay. So we do these awards because, as I mentioned on Monday, we're very much a volunteer-driven organization. We could not do this without the countless hours of volunteer time that people put in to this organization. And so it does, we do think that we need to take some time to value those contributions and provide some awards and recognition for those of you who especially have put in extra effort for this. So we're spending some time giving some awards to you all. Um, as a reminder, first of all, I'm going to talk about the Ambassador Program and our 2026 awardees, since I didn't mention those on Monday. So again, if you are planning on presenting or you would like to present a talk and would like to give a shout out to AgBioData, especially if you're a part of a working group, but also if you're willing to promote AgBioData as well, please apply. There's the link right there, and we still have some awards available for that ambassadorship. So our 2026 current ambassador awards, which of course you could still apply for too, went to Tanya Berardini, Kapil, I forgot to pronounce, Shogule, is that how you pronounce his last name? Chogule? Sorry, Kapil. Kapil Chogule. Muskan Kapoor, David Molek, John McNamara, Sushma Naitani, who actually is currently at the International Society for Biocuration meeting right now and also attending this meeting with partial support from AgBioData. Oh, and it might also be you in the future. So round of applause for our 2026 Ambassador Award winners. Thank you. Okay, next up we have the AgBioData Championship Program. Again, if you are participating in a working group and you think you are contributing a fair amount to your working group, please consider applying for the championship program. You get a $2,000 stipend if you are in the US, I believe, and we do ask you to write a blog post and justify this. So it is some substantial effort, but please do consider that. And our 2026 current AgBioData champion is Tanya Berardini from the Natural Language Processing for Biocuration Working Group for her leadership. So thank you, Tanya. All right. Next up. So as we were planning this, as every year, we have been providing awards for best working group members. So these are individuals who were nominated by you in the community, and then were selected from a smaller subset, an awards committee from the steering committee. And these are individuals who have shown substantial contributions and recognition in the working group work. So these awards go to Marcela Telleries. There we go. Before I move on, I actually should have said this before. So this year, we're doing something a little bit different in terms of awards. We actually have David Molek went to print out little trophies and you can pass these around. So they're not all ready yet. And those of you who get awards, you can look at this and know that this will come in the mail in the next couple of months for you sometime soon. I'm not sure I can show this on the camera. Sorry, it's cute. Gold leaf on it. And so, yeah, thank you, David, for providing the design, figuring out how to set this up, and actually manually applying gold leaf. So Marcela, here, your temporary award for best working group member. Woo! All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Show it for those who are not in person and in your camera. Okay. Look at Marcelo's video there. Next up, Kapil. Oh, and sorry, I'm not with it. Okay. The reason, okay, I wanted to actually read some quotes about why Marcelo was nominated. So Marcelo chaired and led the Standards for Genetic Variation Working Group. Her leadership and insights regarding the data type and its integration within the genomic databases were instrumental in achieving the outcome of this working group. In addition, Dr. Telleries' ability to engage the community, outreaching to the group, as well as individuals to finish tasks in a timely manner is commendable. So thank you, Marcella. Okay, next up, Kapil Chugli. So he was nominated, and here's an excerpt from his extensive write-up in his nomination. Kapil has been one of the most consistent and effective contributors to the NLP working group. He shows up, engages, and moves forward. Importantly, he does not stop at discussions, he builds. He brings working examples, tests ideas in real data sets, and shares results in ways that the group can immediately use. And one of the examples of this building is he provided a custom plant gene info GPT, among other examples. So is Kapil online? If not, thank you, Kapil. You can look at the recording and you should receive a trophy in the mail. All right. And our third awardee is Jennifer Clark. Jennifer has dove in headfirst into the grant writing team and is a great team player with fresh ideas. So thank you, Jennifer Clark. You'll be receiving one of these as well. All right. Our next category is Mission and Leadership Awards. So these are individuals who have put in a substantial amount of time and effort into sort of steering the AgBioData committee forward. And we actually had 4 people awarded because 2 people have a tie this year. So first up is David Molek. So David has put in an incredible amount of work in the past year to move AgBioData forward, including joining the RCN PI group to lead this in-person workshop and working on grant applications to continue to support AgBioData once the RCN expires. David's dedication to moving AgBioData forward is inspiring. So thanks, David. I don't know if you want to give yourself a trophy and put it on your mantle. So, Lenore?
The original plan for us to have this meeting here, and David stepped up, in a moment, and really kind of last minute, and I'm just really incredibly grateful. I don't think that people necessarily realize what a lift it's been for him and for everybody else. So really well deserved.
Yes. All right, next up, Lenore Reiser. um, Lenore has been an incredible leader. She can oversee every aspect of the project with a keen eye and not miss a beat, always with generosity and kindness. Together with members of the steering committee, she has been key in making AgBioData the successful and cooperative organization it is. So thank you, Lenore. Yeah. And in same place, tied, Sunita Kumari and Marcella Tellerese. So Sunita has served, there you are, okay. Sunita has served on the Ag Biodata Steering Committee for over 4 years, demonstrating sustained leadership, strategic vision, and a deep commitment to advancing the Ag Biodata mission. She has played a central role in shaping priorities through contributions to agenda development, implementation, and broad community engagement. Her leadership in organizing 2 virtual and 2 in-person workshops has strengthened collaboration across plant and animal genomics communities and fostered greater alignment around shared infrastructure needs. And there's a lot more right up there too. I couldn't read it all here. So thank you, Sunita. Appreciate your contributions. And then Marcella again. Marcella has stepped up and filled in to fill the most critical role for AgBioData as the program coordinator. She's done an outstanding job as coordinator, providing support and momentum to keep moving things forward. She brings many new ideas, insights, and positive energy, and is a great colleague. She's tackled some really challenging tasks with determination and focus. We could not do the work without her. Thanks again, Marcella. All right, and our next category are the Farification Awards. So the concept behind this is that one of the things that AgBioData is promoting is fair data and databases, and reaching out to the community to provide that. And so these awards go to individuals who have developed concepts for fair data, software, et cetera, and shown exceptional leadership in those areas. So our first 2026 Verification Award goes again to Kapil. Thanks, Kapil. Kapil developed a reproducible, Dockerized proof of concept that adapts the Texpresso central architecture for species-specific sorghum literature curation. This work successfully bridges institutional text mining infrastructure with the unique high-scale literature needs of agricultural genomics. So, Kapil, I know they'll get to you in the mail. Thank you, Kapil. Next up is Laurel Cooper. Thank you, Laurel. Laurel is one of the plant ontologists who has contributed tremendously to the curation of the Plantiome database, which is a go-to resource for the plant and ag biodata community for ontologies. Her expertise, scholarship, and contributions are very essential to the verification of agriculture-related genomic, phenomic, and plant reading data. In addition, Dr. Cooper has contributed to the development of gene ontology. So thank you for Laurel. Applause. And then finally, our last award goes to Adam Wright. Adam has gained a great understanding of metadata schema and philosophy over his tenure with AgBioData. He has developed new standards and recommendations and continues to be a member of our Community Living Fair. So thank you, Adam Wright. All right. I think that is all that I have. Oh no, it's not all that I have. How could I forget that? Um, so we also decided to provide an award for best workshop contributor. And so this would be a person who is both, engaged in the workshop actively here via, contributions, discussions, et cetera. So we were monitoring the activity here, but also organizing and leading up to the event itself. And so our one award for 2026 Best Workshop Contributor goes to Olivia Haley. Woo! So I ha I have to say, so Olivia, she's not on the steering committee, but she stepped into the organizing committee with aplomb, just integrated herself into our work, found things that needed to be done and did them well and did them fast and did them on time and told us what we needed to be doing because we weren't doing them also. And even here at the workshop too has just integrated herself and found ways to make everything go more smoothly and really had really great insights and contributions on a topical level also. So really appreciate that you're part of the team, Olivia. And yeah, another round of applause for Olivia. All right. And finally, to acknowledge, thanks for the workshop organizing team. So this included Timothy Cesard, Sarah Dyer, Olivia, Sunita Kumari, myself, and Marcela Tello-Reese. As David mentioned before, this was sort of a more of a last minute organizing, and so we held together and we pulled it off. So thank you to those of us here, and then local organizers. Of course, David is the lead here, and Laura and Raki for helping things move smoothly locally as well. So round of applause for these people. And then finally, we couldn't have done this without, our speakers, other contributors. I want to do a shout out to Doreen Ware, who moved on to coordinate the International Priorities Workshop at kind of a last minute notice. So thank you, Doreen, for handling that with aplomb. All right, and I think that was my last slide. Yes, okay. So, all right, wrapping it up. We have 10 minutes early, so apologize about that. But should we just move forward with the network sustainability session, or should we do a brief pause so that we can all work on time? Or do people have comments and other thanks that they want to give and appreciation? Tanya, okay, oh, yes, Gwen. Thank you, Gwen Sibley, yes. Oh, okay. That's a great point. Yeah. Sorry. And sorry, yes. Tanya mentions Gwen Sibley, who has also been one of the local on-site people and has helped with the Zoom. Sorry for forgetting that. She's actually been, those of you online can't see that, but she has been setting up the Zoom here locally and moving the camera around for us to see and other tasks as well. So round of applause for Gwen. All right. And apologies. Anybody else that I should acknowledge? Okay. Thank you. All right. So Marcella has an announcement here.
Just we have a 5 minutes overview session before the breakout rooms in this same room. So maybe we want to do that before we take the break and move to our rooms.
Okay. Are you leading that? Okay, cool. So we're going to move on to an overview session for the breakouts, and then we're going to take a bit of time to set up the breakout rooms. I'm going to stop sharing. Do you have the slides here? Network. Network. Yes. I'm going to share. And then here's slideshow. Okay. All right. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Hopefully that thing will go away.
Sorry. This is just like a refresher from the first day session on grant, the grants that we have reviewed and the goals. There was an observation Tanya rightly made like, for example, the making the tools, it wasn't tooling, shared tooling wasn't represented in the goals that I have. So I rerun this analysis with AI of our priorities, and I came up with something new. And also I requested, I expanded the grants, the available grants for agriculture. So that's what I'm gonna show first. So this was what we had before. That came from the top priorities, the top insights from the working groups. But this is a new one. It's a little more expanded. It's now six objectives. The first one is on, oh, here. Oh, sorry, no. it's that one. Yeah. So it's the share. This comes from the 6 working groups. Even with two of our groups are not continuing. There is a lot of interest in phenotypes in general, embedded in the other groups as a data type. So we have a shared NLP platform. There is the FAIR publication program objectives. There is the AI readiness data sets and benchmarks, training, outreach, and community, fairness assessment and phenomics, and then sustained infrastructure. You can see the working groups that are proposed interested in them, and then individual the actual deliverables, proposed deliverables. Doreen has a question. Doreen?
I'm sorry. So I actually am turning on my thing. I actually have another person in the room with me, Christos, who's actually from a primary teaching university here as well. And so I'm curious. We were just looking. I think the training, outreach, and community. You may even want to extend that to the discussion that for the education component. So because I think there are opportunities to think about the modules and things that you guys had presented in your work, and some opportunities for writing up grants associated with FAIR and education.
Yep. Good. Definitely. Thank you for that comment. We'll keep that in mind. So again, this is only an overview, is to prime the discussions that we're going to have on the breakout rooms. The next one, this is what I showed before. This is the ones that we have kind of discussed, review in our grant writing group. The Sloan one, the CPAUS, the CSSI, and the NIFA AFRI SIN. But then I used, I think Claude Claude is my friend now. It's Eleanor's boyfriend, but it's kind of my friend too. we love Claude, but he loves us too. And he seems to be concerned about my position as a project coordinator. And I've been telling him, like, nobody's gonna fund a coordinator, so I have to be 50% coordinator if any. And so, like, he has had that in mind, and he came up with this proposal for sharing an FTP, FTE for a coordinator / data curator, data analyst, among various grants. Again, this is like an idyllic situation. I don't know any institution that would actually work with that unless you have like a position, a teacher position, but it's proposing, to have several several grants covering the 1 FTE. With that in mind, these are again the six goals that I presented earlier, and the amount of each, the deadline, the timeline for applying, and for when the funds would be available. And yeah, so that's just to keep in mind, and then this is the outline, the timeline for applying for them. So you can see that he's even including virus as for the following year. So he may have me walking dogs, dog sitting, whatever you want for this year on a 15%, and next year maybe, or within the next couple of years, I could get a full salary. But it is an idea. Like, it's helpful just to keep in mind. So it's not based on facts, and on experience, on actual experience with this. And I think that's all I have. So just things to keep in mind. Again, if you go to the Google Drive for the session, my slides are there. I'm also gonna put a link to the top priorities and wishes for the working group, so you can use that as you please. And now David is gonna give us the layout of what's planned for these breakout rooms that we'll have after a short break.
I'm just going to talk through it. Yeah, just put it on now. Great. So we're going to be doing a network sustainability session. And so yesterday we thought a lot about, our databases and our GBBs and how we can continue to have those funded into the future and provide resources. Well, we also need to think about how we as a community want to continue to exist and act and, think about how we're going to coordinate ourselves, how we're going to govern ourselves. And so we've prepared 3 working sessions in order to ask and hopefully come up with actionable items that we can take with us today and sign on to and find leadership for in a set of sessions. So I want to special thanks to Natalie Myers and Fringy and Gwen, who are going to be helping us or provide a different perspective as leaders in these discussions, and as well as Marcella and Nick, who will also be session leaders, as well as myself. So the 3 sessions or the 3 sort of choices are shared infrastructure and human resources. That'll be led by Natalie Myers and myself. These are asking questions like, how can we share infrastructure across databases? Where do human resources come from? Services like across GBBs in a way that's both equitable, but continues to provide a high level of service to particular communities. And also things like, shared biocuration services. And so in that sense, what are the things that possibly could lower costs for, I mean, not to be the capitalist, but what are things that could possibly lower costs for GBBs that we could share across? And then Nick and Fringy will be leading a discussion based on shared funding pools, funding models. How would that be governed? What is the funding situation if AgBioData said, did something like becoming a non-for-profit or LLC? How do we navigate with ARS funding if that's involved in GBB? And how do we govern all of that as well in a way that's fair and equitable to the communities that we represent? And then lastly, the sort of a network coordination and how do we, govern a way or self-govern a network in a way that's also, fair and equitable. So that would cover things like coordination of AgBioData's and I should say the answer to some of these could absolutely be like we do nothing, but I think it's a good idea to talk about these things. And so the coordination of AgBioData projects, workshops, or key conferences, webinars, what's the minimum set of RCN type activities needed to keep a consortium growing strong? How do we fund these? How much software development do we need to include to justify the coordination effort from funders for things like FairOS? Would hiring a software developer with managerial experience solve those sorts of problems? So shared infrastructure and human resources will be in this room. And then shared funding across databases will be upstairs in 221A. And network coordination will be in 221B. And then the network or the coordinators, discussion leads for each of those things have a set of questions and sort of a worksheet that they can work with to move the discussion going or keep the discussion going strong. Okay. Yeah. Man, that was a lot, wasn't it? Those discussions. So I think what we should do here is maybe some report outs. I want to hear from each of the groups what we talked about. We should all know. And then let's get into it. Start thinking about some actionable items we can take away from our AgBioData annual meeting and who's going to do them. And of course, anybody that's not here is fair game for assignment of. No, I'm Nick. You can hear me, right? Yeah. Um. So, who wants to go first? What we had? We had infra, we had governance, and we had network. Yeah. So, maybe network wants to go first. Who was there? I think so. Yeah.
Right, where Nick is speaking.
Oh, Nick, you're first.
You want to share?
Oh, so Marcella's group will go first. Who was
Okay.
Olivia?
Hello. Yep, just trying to pull up my notes again. Okay. So, we had a really great discussion. And so much of our conversation was spent on how do we develop education and training materials, and how do we then deal with governance and bylaws, and then importantly, how can we fund the project coordinator position as a leader in these initiatives. So we discussed that we should really lean into this generation's love for online learning by creating training materials in courses like platforms through like Moodle. Um, and how this also complements AgBioData's goal of outreach. So we had a couple of ideas on different courses that could be developed, such as train the trainer, on how to run a workshop, how to write and review bioinformatics papers, training on the effective use of database resources, and training on biocuration. And so our idea was that these trainings could have some sort of component that the network or that the project coordinator would oversee. And we also had ideas on how to engage the community to sort of increase the benefits of AgBioData membership, such as creating a manuscript pre-review system. So one of the problems that we identified in general was that there's occasionally poor quality papers that hide their metadata and don't really adhere to FAIR principles, but they still make it through review. So our vision is that this could be an opportunity for researchers and students to get their papers pre-reviewed by members of the community through like this portal. And then when someone submits their paper, the project coordinator can send it to contacts at the databases that are relevant to their paper. So this gives the database not only a preview of the data that they could potentially host, but also make sure that they are properly cited, which I know is something that's critical for our databases to be recognized within and outside of our communities. And we talked about incentivizing this by having accounts at AgBioData with badges like top curator or reviewed more than 20 manuscripts, something to sort of like incentivize participation from the community. We also talked about a workforce development through an internship program that the project coordinator could also oversee. So, because we're in need of biocurators, we could frame this as an internship opportunity where the project coordinator can partner with different databases and interns or students, undergraduate or graduate, who are looking for an opportunity to get practical hands-on experience in biocuration. We had a lot of ideas. So we also discussed maybe establishing a certification system. So it's kind of going to be like similar to the data carpentries program. This could be a system where the databases can get certified as instructors on topics like fair data. And this could even be a funding stream to further support educational opportunities. And the last thing, the last system we talked about was establishing a review system of journals. And doing this using like fairness ratings for the journals. Um, so kind of creating like a fairness score that assesses how well the journals actually like vet their papers for according to fair principles. And so this would incentivize journals to improve their review process and weed out poorly written manuscripts. But it could also provide a place where we can report a manuscript with major violations in fair practices. Um, and that we can then submit these reports to the journals in bulk to get their attention on the scientific integrity board. I know this is very very ambitious. I know. So other potential roles for the project coordinator that we touched on was licensing. So making sure that our videos and materials are protected from being monetized by other groups. And ensuring conformity of like watermarks or branding or distributing licenses. Monthly emails, so updates to supplement the quarterly newsletter. Making sure our materials are ADA compliant, and supporting versioning and storage management. So how are these materials being stored, and then supporting kind of like the curation of the materials. Um, so determining whether they need to be updated or decommissioned. And then also governance. So creating bylaws to answer the question of what makes an AgBioData member an AgBioData member. So from all this, our commitments in the short term are to tackle the low-hanging fruit, such as incorporating the idea of monthly emails and making them a responsibility of the project coordinator. And then as far as commitments, Marcella is committed to starting up these monthly emails, and then multiple of us are committed to following up on developing these educational materials and discussing more about the different systems that we would like to see. Did I get that correctly? Okay.
Just if it wasn't clear, this is like a bridging, like we would be looking for educational grants to get this. I mean, we're only covered until the end of August. So, but if we could find something that covers that instead of just coordination, tackle it from the educational point of view.
Very cool. I think, do you want to do questions after each sort of, yeah, why not? Let's do some questions. We'll keep them short though. I had two. You talked about a paper review system, which was like a pre-review. The model I'm familiar with in that is peer communities in. I'm wondering if that came up at all. Leonor. Oh, yeah, Micropub does that too, yeah.
So yeah, we talked about prereview.org, and we thought that this could be instead of like going through these avenues, it could be like a way to kind of like promote our databases as well. So like as students, they just want someone to just kind of take a glance at their paper that would benefit them to know, how do we cite these resources appropriately. And then it can also benefit us as far as, making sure we are cited and making sure that those who are using our tools are using them properly and with attribution.
Oh, Doreen, you have your hand raised.
So I think this sort of aligns with one of the discussions that we were having in that it depends on what the peer review is for. If the peer review is for is the data fair, then if we had a set of validators that basically ran their data through, right? Or we could develop those, then David, I know you're part of a library.
Yep.
Here at Cold Spring Harbor, where they are working with the librarians, are working to make sure everything meets NIH standards, and this could be part of resources that could be used by the institutions as well to actually meet their criteria for ensuring the long-term data management plans are in place appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
In our copious spare time that most of us are also periodically get to review some papers, though not necessarily often that space. It did make me sort of think about as part of our literature curation pipeline at TARE that we suck in bioarchive papers, right, that do sometimes eventually come back as real sorry, non
No, you can say it.
non pre
You're among friends. You can say it.
So as a rule, we don't curate preprints, right? But it might be an interesting experiment to see, because the whole point of a preprint server is that you can provide feedback on that. So what if we looked at some of these preprints and said, is there a value, like to that sort of curatorial review, saying, hey, this is data that we might be pulling into our database when it becomes a publication. So what can we do to improve it in the preprint stage?
Well, in the interest of time, these are all really good thoughts. I want you to hold on to them. I am going to check in with with Olivia, to make sure some of this stuff happens. Um, I see you. Okay, let's move on to the next group. I think that would be the uh, shared. Was that us? No. Nick, you're up.
All right. Can you all see and hear me okay? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sorry. We can hear you great.
So I'm going to just report out on the discussions we had about shared funding across databases. So this was meant to focus on how AgBioData can be sustainable in the near and long term, and how that would kind of work within the AgBioData network. I'm going to present a sort of a different way. I'm going to have a general synthesis. Our discussion was wide and ranging and very interesting. Basically, we also kind of based on the updates that Marcella and Dory gave earlier in the conference, we took those and we also had some additional discussion. So we believe that the long-term structure is predicated on how to legally structure AgBioData. Long-term funding structure is going to be predicated upon that, but we think that becoming a centralized entity, which have been spoke with, sort of the NRI model with coordinated databases, would generally be best for long-term viability and execution of its mission. We're still going to do the short-term funding targets that were presented by Marcella. We think those are good to do at the minimum, and that one of a blended approach can be complemented through engaging also private industry. So agri-tech, AI companies, especially since the AI companies have been definitely using our resources, we feel that reaching out to them and requesting assistance, either money or infrastructure support, would be good for some potential bridge funds as well. So that's kind of the general overall synthesis that we had as a discussion. Some of the major key points we brought up here on the right are the legal status and location of how AgBioData would be kind of going forward would be key when considering for overhead concerns and costs, and how funding inflows and outflows could be managed with minimal friction, and sort of how that might function in terms of agreements with other database members. We also were curious, like, how would membership look like within this new framework structure, in the long term, how AgBioData would go on. I know this might have been discussed in some of the other sessions as well. One of the things that we also talked about is maybe a percentage of database budgets can go to AgBioData network as well for a long-term for a funding solution. And then also kind of what does AgBioData network actually mean? How do we define it, its privileges, its products going forward? And then, can this network change, expand, or need it remain fixed, for any period of time when we were thinking about these types of funding requirements? We're also thinking about the FTEs that are required for the centralized structure. How would it be dedicated? Either the resources provided to AgBioData, and what that might look like. We hypothesize, have to one FTE, for a given period of time that might, vary depending on the needs of the network of the consortium at that time. And as I mentioned kind of in the previous one, we should reach out formally to private industry to request funds, since our work definitely benefits industry, whether it's AI, agri-tech, even potentially checkoffs we might, want to look into as well. Other funding was brought up to kind of support some of these initial sort of evaluations for how this transition might occur as well. One of them was the IDSS, which is linked here, and that can be kind of further evaluated by leadership and by the consortium at large. So we were also tasked with doing some questions and direct experts from the discussion. So some of that was captured in the synthesis, but I'm just going to go over them now. So the preferred funding model is kind of long-term, hub and spoke. So in the model of NRI or data curation network, LTER, GLBE. So those are some examples that we might kind of want to consider modeling off of. Short-term, federal grants with private fund bridge, kind of again at a minimum. We can look into doing some workshop grants and things like that that also might be able to support some coordinator roles and things like that. So how would like a simple allocation potentially work? Long term, as I mentioned, could be percentage of database funds to the AgBioData network. It could be also like long-term funding and designation through NRI and things like that. Short-term individual agreements might need to be structured individually through each database and institution. And again, also grants as well on top of that. So allocation, is really FTE based on jobs and the goal. And so that's going to have to be, specific to the task at the time when these kind of agreements are constructed. So the recommended entity structure and risk. Again, we kind of talked about the centralized hub and spoke. And again, the risk is sort of the legal structure and local location of what, where AgBioData might end up being. And so which institution is going to be, what kind of the cost for that if we were to also transition. We also talked about, the transition from what currently is to an LLC or a nonprofit, how that might impact funds, inflows and outflows and stuff like that. And so one implementable action within 12 months, I think we actually have two, is reach out to private industry, because that's a pretty easy thing to do in terms of actual reaching out for communication. And then as Marcella put out in some of her updates, are multiple federal grant submissions that we, as part of the grant writing team, we're also going to be executing on. So that's the summary from our discussions. If there's any other questions or things like that, me or anyone else in the group can respond.
Nick, Monica here. Who's going to reach out to industry?
Whoever has the closest friendships with somebody.
Did you identify anybody?
We kind of mentioned things. I think that's something that we need to reach out to the group about. Some people talked about they knew some people, but we have some, more formalized relationships. But I think a strategy would need to be had about what's the best and most professional way to reach out to try to have the best success. So we didn't formalize how to do that, but that would be my impression.
Okay. Well, if you came up with some names and you wouldn't like to mention them here in public, but you can send them via email to Lenore or me or
Yeah.
Fringy. Okay. Here.
I was going to say, from my point of view, um, Nick's from a sort of plant crop world. The bizarre, unique insect world I'm in, nobody cares. So that's only good for, I think, about half the databases here. Anyway.
Yeah, and
So,
thank
so
you.
you're not reaching out to industry.
And this is something that got brought up, and I apologize. I should have mentioned that in the synthesis, and I'll update that too. Is this was biased definitely towards plants, and it needs to be adjusted so it's
But
more inclusive.
But I think it was like a call to action, right? That we thought that we would ask people, like, do you have industry contacts? Many of our databases already have relationships with people in business, who they're potentially using to help support their databases. Maybe they would be willing to, add an additional, like put a little bit of an additional ask, and maybe, some of that framework just, ask is part of one of the documents that Dory Main had generated, to just be like, hey, we thank you for supporting the database. And, in addition to our database, like this global project that we're working on is also really important. So would you mind kicking up, a little bit more this year? But because I think that there are, there isn't like a big Arabidopsis agricultural community, but some other groups do. So I think the ask is, do you know someone, and would you be willing to? And then maybe we can help them with presenting that ask for why the AgBioData is important to the databases and ultimately to them.
I still have a little Arabidopsis, I was going to say.
I had two comments on that. One is that I'm going to challenge Fringy and say that there are some insect industry peoples, but they're non-obvious. Because there are producing insects, like pollinators, and then there's now ever growing is insects as fresh, insects as food. But that's that's one thing. The other thing, Nick, you talked a lot about the sort of entity that is AgBioData. I think, I think the last couple of days and the last couple of months, at least on my side, I've been thinking a lot about that as well. And I think the thing to do here is we come up with a development plan at the grant team level, submit that to the SC, and then go from there. This is how we will grow as an organization kind of plan. So love to hear that group's thoughts on that. Like a business development plan almost.
Mhm. Yep.
Seeing some head nods.
David, I think that I agree with you in having a strategy. I think there are individuals like Phoenix here who've had to do something like that. And I mentioned the Maze Genetics Corporation. Those are longer term strategies that take a while in place. And I think what we do need to come up with is a short-term gap risk assessment on ensuring that we continue to be productive in the next 12 months.
Yeah, 100%. So be it. I'll lead that. I'm already on the grant team. That leaves us the last, or do we have any other questions for Bridgie? Did you want to respond to my pithy comment? Sorry.
I mean, one thing is one of your questions for the end. So, there was some questions here. And the last one was names of potential leads. The one thing I'm going to say is if you're a PI and you're not going to contribute to writing, then you're going to get left behind. So it's pretty straightforward. Pretty much everyone here has to be writing to keep their own databases alive and additionally for AgBioData as well. But we all knew that anyway.
But we have to be reminded, I think, sometimes. That leaves the last group. That was our group. Monica, did you want to? Natalie isn't here, but otherwise I'd make her do it. It's my laptop. Let me just grab my laptop. Okay. Uh, so we were all about shared infrastructure and shared services and a number of questions around that in our group. That sort of came to a couple of conclusions like the prioritization of or things that we should move to that we might want to think about moving towards, and then a series of steps and how to think about those things. One of a big theme out of that was infrastructure level sharing over full software unification. So these are things like genome browsers, data metadata validators, middleware for cross database querying, hosting and compute resources, and AI ready data access systems, so MCPs, data visitation models. But the and that, that's great. That might save any particular GBB if they're sharing that resource with, several other GBBs. That might reduce costs. But, the issue with all of that is it's a lot of work in the uh, upgrades and compliances that you need in order to get there. So we had a number of, and I'll get to that, a number of thoughts around how that coming to those conclusions or going and getting those upgrades might happen. Also dived into sustainability and funding models. We argue for a pilot-driven approach, AI readiness as a driver, and a need for community coordination mechanisms like a new Slack channel for developers, expertise catalogs and directories, both at the GBB, but also at the personal level for our members, sort of open calls and a cultural change towards, I'm going to write something to do this, who's with me, kind of pile-in approach to things. We identified lots of risks here. There's a risk of over centralization and a loss of flexibility at the GBB level if we move too much into shared services and infrastructure. Technical debt and lock-in, under coordination and fragmentation. It could continue to exist if we do nothing. Sustainability gaps and failure after initial funding of a lot of these things. So thinking, you get your grant or, several GBBs piled together to get a grant, how do you continue that going from there? And then unequal participation and free rider dynamics could become a thing. So sort of an actionable framework we developed was in the short term, thinking about conducting shared requirements analysis. That was the one that would require a new sort of working group that looks at, GBB technical requirements, piloting one shared service, build community coordination tools, initiate collaborative grant proposals. Doreen already agreed that she was going to do one. In the medium term, looking at implementing hybrid infrastructure models,
I have until 2027 though.
Okay. Develop shared, well, we said develop shared standards and APIs, but a lot of that is actually, there are shared standards that we can use and there are shared APIs that we can utilize like BRAPI, but more implementation in the 12 to 24 month terms. Expand middleware for cross database access. So thinking about the infrastructure that would be required to query multiple GBBs at once. And then in the long term, transitioning towards AI compatible federated ecosystems. Sort of, I can query, for certain things, especially like metadata, I can query across databases fairly easily. That's a future we probably want to get to. It comes up in every conversation, establishing sustainable funding mechanisms. I think we've talked the hell out of that during this meeting, not just this session, but every other. And then, the looking at the governance structures that lead us, like the hub and spokes model that Nick alluded to. That about right? Am I forgetting anything?
It's a great summary. Thanks, David. I think, I mean, so in terms of the immediate next steps, um, I guess we need to set up another working group to continue this because there were a lot of really good ideas that came up. And Doreen really stressed the fact that, you know, we don't have a lot of time left on this grant. Can we use the existing working groups to sort of, you know, recognize that we need to start creating implementation of the goals that those working groups have in order to have sort of a product available for us to advertise in the grant writing phase. So really, you know, I took that home as it's like a message for the steering committee. Is that something that we should really stress within the working groups of, you know, trying to have implementation plans and not just sort of like a general overview. And then some of our working groups have produced those things, but that might be good to stress here so that we have, you know, something available to actually promote within the grant writing process. And there are, you know, multiple ideas that we should collate that the working group can sort of bandy about as well and provide them to the grant writing team as possible avenues. Yeah, and then we talked about writing grants, so and people stepping up to do it. Yeah, ideally. So.
I wanted to add, I took some notes. Natalie had a couple of good suggestions that may or may not be actionable in the short term. One of them was to like set up a proof of concept for an MCP for the databases. And I think Adam has done a test case that we could use and maybe set up some shared infrastructure for fair testing. And she was suggesting these things together could be used as a good foundation for a grant, because you could say AgBioData has done this test MCP, and we have set up shared infrastructure for fair testing of a certain data type. Now we want to do more. So I thought that those two were really good ideas that Natalie raised.
Yeah. And then maybe one more thing to emphasize, you know, within AgBioData, I remember when we first started, we had more of like a strong sort of developer infrastructure component. There was a working group that worked on, you know, that discussed technology platforms. And we've sort of slightly drifted away from that. It's more like curation topical and less conversations from the developers about, you know, issues regarding software. And so there's a very strong sentiment that I picked up on here that we really need to know who our developers are, and we need to revitalize that because that's a big cost. Like developers and maintenance and security, it's not fun. So if we could figure out how to provide sort of yeah, what the best strategy is for shared infrastructure in that space, but that requires talking about technology and bringing developers back in the fold. And Doreen had the suggestion of, you know, we need a catalog of or not, maybe not a catalog, that sounds bad, a list of our software developers and the skill sets that they can bring to the table so that we know who to talk to if we have tech problems.
We had talked to about, you know, how we can leverage, you know, our current funding, you know, of the champions or, you know, whatever to, you know, think about how we could help support, you know, driving some of these things forward. So I think we'll maybe take that up after this meeting as well. It is on. I'm just mumbling.
Okay. So I think that's all the working groups. I don't know, how long did we go on this one? 12:30? 12:30? All right. What I wanted to do with the rest of the time was, now that we've sort of thought about all of the working groups and where they're, or all of the breakout rooms and where they are at, I want to come together, you know, take a couple of seconds here, think about what we've heard, and just say what comes to mind. No, you should. This is a discussion session, not a Dave Malik, a world according to Dave Malik session.
I'm going to jump in and basically say, this is a really amazing, I think somebody mentioned early on that we have senses of community. We have communities that we work with, and this group is a robust community. And every person in this room wants to help other people. I mean, that is just across the board. And I think that we should acknowledge that each of us should acknowledge the other people and acknowledge that we do things that are hard and nobody else, that there aren't a lot of people who always want to do this. And we don't necessarily recognize that and give ourselves enough pats on the back. So I just want to say that. And it's great to see that everyone is here is engaged, right? And I have, having been through these cycles multiple times, Lenore and I know each other a long, long time, right? I have huge confidence that we're going to come out of this with a win. I'm just saying that.
Here. Actually, I'll clap for that.
Can I add to that as somebody who has never engaged with this group before? I really agree. So now you have somebody with a lot of experience and somebody that's none, but it's actually quite hard to get people into a room and to work together. And you've done a ton. There's a tons of papers, there's a ton of activities. I'm sure it feels overwhelming because there's always a ton of more things that you wish you were doing. But it is a really good group and it really has been productive. And it strikes me that there's a lot of really great outcomes to promote in successive proposals. Like it's really easy for these things to fall apart, honestly. So you should feel really proud of yourselves. And I see a lot of really good here.
As I was thinking about the different working groups and the different discussion groups, I noticed there's a theme of leaning more into education. We've built some educational materials. There are different types of groups that we want to educate, whether it's students, whether it's our colleagues, whether it's potential curators or the software. But maybe that's a unifying theme for a grant. And for the right place, that might hit the sweet spot. It may not be a big one, but there's certainly a need. And we have the expertise and we have some materials. We have something to start with.
Certainly the EE part of REE. NEFA grants are research, education, extension. So it's the education extension part of research, education, extension.
Like maybe like last year, not this last PAG, but the PAG before with was it the NRSP 9 people? They had, so I can't remember her name now because I'm old. But they were looking to use our curriculum, right? So to adapt parts of our curriculum because they had their own SIM grant, right? You remember? Yes, Noel. Yeah, that would be a good place to maybe reconnect.
Ori.
Thank you. This has been a really great workshop. I know I've learned a lot and had some really good ideas from listening to everyone. And one of the things that I was thinking about and raised slightly there with Monica is that it seems to me there's quite a few databases that are still using triple. We just have lost a wee bit of momentum with it. And I think, that might be one that would be worth a grant. To develop that further as a shared resource for several of us, I think. So that's something I've been thinking about. And with shared developers, so, you know, moving towards that model where we have some kind of redundancy and expertise in different areas, and we can work together. And as a group, we work together anyway pretty well, at least in the past. And I think we can still do that again. So this gave me that idea. So thank you.
Dory, I want to follow up on that. I don't remember the people here. Do you guys have an animal person who's using triple?
Do we? Not sure we do.
Because
Well, we have Monica using the insects.
I
That
know
count?
she's using the insects, but what I was
Insects
really
or
looking
animals?
at,
Insects are
well,
all.
I think of them as insects. Yeah, they're vectors. They're vectors. They're vectors. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad.
Now, don't be mean to the insects.
but I'm thinking
There
if
were
you can
butterfly
identify
groups as well. Yeah.
an animal community that would want to adopt her on board, right?
Yeah.
Then you would have sort of like the trifecta of the mutualist beneficials, the pollinators, the bad guys, the leaf hoppers, and your plant and your ag plants in the same model. It would be similar to what
Yes, yes,
you know,
yes.
working with Sarah and I, like Sarah and I using this same shared resource across species. Like I said, I have a bias and I'll be forth blunt with that, right? But there can be two models on that. But you have to demonstrate you can use it across species. And there may be some, you know.
Oh, it has been used in other countries for animals. I do know that, just not here. But you know, one that might want to move over to that might be the animal genome folks. Especially if they got funding to do it. You know?
Yeah. So I think that
Yeah.
so I think that having a follow-up here of there are like really great topical areas and I think you start out with I mean I threw out in that room a number of 5, but it may be worthwhile to throw out a number of 10 and then see what narrows down to the strengths and what matches up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know that some of these could end up being rapids depending upon and short-term fixes, right? If there's a like with the AI agents, there's an incredible need to make this work right now, right? That would be a rapid example, right? And then there are long-term strategic where you're saying, can we have 1 or 2 parallel routes to support the ag community in shared data structures, right? To support interoperability and management, right? And those things. And so I think the more, you know, while I work in plants as in USDA, I really have to think about shared infrastructure, like sharing the same infrastructure with Monica or with the goat people or the cattle people. The human people, you know, hey.
I like that word, the goat people. The goat people.
So far,
the
you've
human
left
people.
out fungi and viruses.
Fungi, I think, fit more in our eukaryotic system. The viruses are a little tougher, but let's just say we've been having these discussions with Sarah's aware of it, like with Christine, who is doing the expression stuff, right? As we're sequencing all of our data sets and we think about biosecurity, you know, a lot of our data sets have other things in it, you know, and we never mine that stuff out. Right. So those are important and they become the path, you know, the UPath person was here. I'm sorry you're in the room and I'm not familiar with you. But you know, once again, interoperability, it was brought up within USDA. We need to be working with our nutrition colleagues, right? But when you look in the One Health system, we have to be interoperable across all those organism bases.
Good points, Dory. If you do start with a triple grant, I'd be interested in at least seeing what's going on. So.
Well,
And
you
there
have.
is like there's a triple community. They still interact on have no developer meetings on Slack, et cetera. So there's place
Yeah.
to pick up.
We can get all the triple folks together and have a meeting and discuss for sure what we might want to do.
I'm going to throw this out to you, Dory. You should reach out to NIFA and ask them if you could get a workshop grant
Oh, yeah. Give us
to
one.
coordinate on
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Part of that workshop grant may be a quarter project manager.
That'd be nice.
How you use your quarter project manager, that's a
Yeah.
whole different ball game, right? And then it would support hackathons.
Yeah, that would too.
Your workshop grant doesn't have to be a workshop at a conference. It's a bonus if you can link it to that.
Yeah.
But your
Yeah.
workshop grant could be focused on that for NIFA. And,
Yeah.
and that can go in now.
Oh, yeah. Anytime it can go in.
Anytime. So
Oh, okay.
this is
Good
where
idea.
I'm really saying, guys, we have to think a little bit more strategically of crisis management and what can go in now and how to piece things together. We could think about one or two workshop grants that relate to NIFA or NSF and get those in and see if we can get turnaround on them. If we got pieced together for some of these data sets that we're interested in, right? These could be shorter grants submitted now in the cycles, and we're not looking at long term, but we're looking at how to basically support our community moving forward and our developers are moving forward. And then we can piece coordination is part of that as well.
Yeah, sure. That's a great idea.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left. I want to do something really mean. Bear with me. I want to go around the room, and since this is pretty much the end of the meeting pretty soon here, I want one thing from every person about what they're going to do in the AgBioData realm next. And we're going to hold you to it too. So it can be really small. It can be really small. And I know some of you are friendlies and but you too, Adrian, I'm looking at you. You got to do something too. And I'll start. I will write that business development plan for AgBioData. And yeah, bring it to the grant committee and then the steering committee. Yeah, Nick, what are you going to do?
Well, I'll definitely help out with that development plan if you need to, but I will also try to coordinate with everyone on who might be private people to reach out to, so I can take point on that.
Perfect. Doreen, you're next.
I'm going to meet with my colleague from SUNY Westbury and have him join the AgBio, the teaching and educational component, and support him on coordinating with you on some opportunities for outreach and educational grants from NSF.
Perfect. Dory.
I'm going to do three things. I'm going to finish the trace tool and get it out to all the databases. I'm going to get the triple people together, and then hopefully we're going to write a workshop grant quickly and reach out to the animal folks about who might be interested in triple as well as part of that. That's my three things. Oh, and I got to work on the white paper too. Four things.
All right, you're going all in. We appreciate you. Chris.
Me? Wait, are you did you
Yep,
just
you're
ask for me? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry. I don't know. I would like to help. I can volunteer to help with the grant writing. I'm just not really sure. Like I don't think I would be a leader, and so I just want to volunteer for people to like contact me, and especially Marcella because I think it's urgent. I didn't go to your session earlier, but I think I would like to help in if you need help writing proposals to keep the coordination work going.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is it Rex? No Rex.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, it is. It took me a while to find the button. One of the things on my list is to see about incorporating the RSIDs, which we were on the SVG group, into our database. If there is a NCP effort, volunteer to try to get a server here, if it's possible. And that's about all I can commit to. Oh, and if you need help writing, I can always try that.
Every little bit helps. Sarah, you're on the call. Gwen, we'll get to you. You're in person.
Hi everyone. I'm not sure how active I'm going to be with AgBioData for a little while. I'm changing job and changing life. But I will definitely keep you folks in mind. And if I see any opportunities to either promote you or or opportunities to work with kind of new folks, I will be sure to spread the word.
Sook?
I'm already committed with Tanya. I'm in the working group on trying the Texpresso, so I'll work on that, and I will help Dory with the triple grant stuff and the white paper.
That's a lot.
Thank you,
Asher,
Sue.
what do you? Sorry. Asher?
I'm not sure how I can help, but if anyone needs my help regarding cybersecurity, I can help with cybersecurity. That's what I've been studying for the past few years now. I work at Bioanalytic Resource with Nick Provat. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, in-person people. Let's do a mic and then pass it around.
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Oh, thinking about taking a nap. But yeah, I don't want to overpromise here too, but I am interested in the triple grant, so I'd be willing to be in on that group in addition to work with steering committee, rounding out the deliverables from the RCN grant, and I think we do need to have somebody start a working group from the discussion that we had earlier. So I will tentatively put myself on as somebody who will try to push that forward and at least, summarize, what you had, what's here, and then get them forward and move them through the working group cycle that we already have built in through the group. So, and
yeah, so want to help with Triple and get in touch with the development community, get plugged into the Slack, and make sure I'm in a good position to help contribute to that repository, and also continue to advocate for its adoption in our internal Catawba plant.
So this is Gwen. I'm behind the camera, so you can't see me. David and I are putting on a workshop within the month where we think the FAIR educational module will be very useful. So, and we plan to use that for our future teaching.
Yeah, this is Taekwon. Throughout the break session yesterday, I realized a single cell RNA-seq biocuration working group needs more hands, more engagement. I'm gonna reach out Chris and Sunita to update our metadata.
Hi, this is Olivia. So something I can commit to is working on the educational materials. That's something that I'm very interested in. So if anyone's, developing those, please let me know. Yeah. Uh, I would also like to get more involved in the AI readiness working group. And and also keep my commitments to the NLP working group as well.
I will make sure that a working version of Texpresso will be up in May.
Hi, everybody. This is Omar. So I'm not officially part of AgBio, I guess, data groups, but this has been a very rewarding experience for me, and hopefully I was able to also, I don't know, share our knowledge and experience with you, and hopefully it was useful. And I'm more than happy to continue doing that, and help out where I can, obviously. So
it's really you've been great. We appreciate it, and we're going to be following up on that offer.
Okay, I'll continue contributing or help out at the AI readiness group, push it forward, and then concretely, action-wise, I could take over the submission of, I'll follow the SOP from the publication of the genetic variations standards, and then submit SNP data from this 19K rice project to the EVA.
This is Jody. I know it's been requested by a few people that I help facilitate some updates to the AgBioData website since it's hosted in our lab. So I'd be happy to do that because I think we're going on 10 years now. We really need to make sure our accomplishments and our products are super highlighted on that website so people realize all the work that's been done over the last 10 years because we have accomplished a lot. It's a little hidden right now.
Hello, everyone. This is Adrian that David refers to. I'll commit to two things. One will be a David's sounding board on campus in an asymmetrical way. That means being his therapist.
I really need that.
And number two, the center I work for at Kansas State shares the AB part, the AgBio part. I don't know how much space there is or is not in AgBioData for pathogen genomics, but that's a place I'd want to grow in for our center, as well as see what kind of working stuff there is to do with this group. And beyond that, Kansas State and the State Department of Ag feels like a natural center to some of your activities. The Animal Health Commissioner, the state veterinarian for the state of Kansas, expressed to me about a week ago, 10 days ago, his biggest concern when it comes to foreign animal disease is processing data, and that is in an epidemiological context. That's premises data, livestock movement data. So much different than genetics, genomics, and breeding. However, I see a place for the State Department of Ag to have some work in this, and especially since Kansas is almost solely unique in that there's only one other state, New Mexico, where the State Department of Ag is not in the political capital. It's next door to Kansas State University, the land grant. So there's some unique work that I think can be hashed out there. And I guess even though I'm a bit of an outsider to this group, you at least have an ambassador to some of these ancillary places that might make a good win.
Thank you, Adrian. And I want to take the opportunity to thank every single one here because honestly, it has felt personal. You guys, I know you're looking out for AgBioData, but it also feels like you're looking out for me. So thank you so much. And I will do everything in my power to keep this going. I mean, I know I cannot just rely that I'm going to have a job after August. But even if I don't have a job, I am willing to volunteer a little bit of time if I don't have another job to keep things going forward.
Hi, I'm on the periphery. I did join the sustainability group, and I think I mentioned this yesterday. So part of an organization in libraries called the Data Curation Network, and we transitioned from grant funding to being member supported. And so I thought one of the things I could offer is I have that sustainability report, just see what it looks like. There was a market analysis and financial model recommendations, and like all that went into it. And I think Nick mentioned this too, like one of the things that I wondered is if you couldn't get a grant to do that sort of thing. Like we hired a consultant and it was like a year-long effort in order to figure out how to sustain the data curation network. And that could, to Doreen's comment about kind of like the crisis short-term sorts of things, but that would be incremental to get you towards longer sustainability. And otherwise for that, like, I've been, as I've already said, just impressed, and it's great to see this community. And so I'm always happy to read anything or be like, oh, did you realize you did this too? Or like, things that might not actually feel obvious to you all because you're living it right now, but from the outside, it's really obvious. So.
Renji, you didn't go. I see you.
So I guess really I should say thank you to all of you. I've been in the Genome Center and done honeybee genomes, and I've done sandfly genomes going to HUPATH, and I've been involved in bovine genomes. We didn't do the plants at Baylor, so I'm sorry. And so I've seen all of these things and all of this data and find wonderful homes and be supported by you all. And I want to thank you all for doing that over the years, because people will lose it in NCBI and it's a different world. So first, thank you all. I really do appreciate this. And it's good to see all of this. It's not data, it's community, right? It's community of people really working on things. So that's the main thing I want to say is thank you. What am I going to try and contribute? I'm not making data anymore. One thing I feel is like we're all here in very separate communities, joined by the idea of fair data, and we're joined by using the same software and dealing with our communities. And I've been thinking of ways to try and join us together data-wise. I've been thinking of a lot of comparative genomics ideas. I'm wondering about comparative SNP kind of things. Can we identify SNPs between ultra-conserved genes, between species that are quite far apart, that kind of thing? So maybe there's a way we can join ourselves biologically as well as fair data and as well as methods. Anyway,
cool
but most of all, thank you all.
Oh, Leonore, you did not go.
Hi, I'm Lenore. So in the very, very near term, I commit to working on the budget with first with Connie, following this conference, and then with the rest of the steering committee, to submitting a no-cost extension, and working on the judicious application of the remaining budget, and then just generally trying not to mess things up.
Yeah. Who? Oh, yes. As we're closing here, everybody make sure to do the evaluation. It's really important to know, how we did, what went wrong, what went really right. I think more went right than wrong. And, so I think that's it. Okay. Should I close the meeting? Okay. So with that, we'll draw the meeting to a close. For the online participants, thank you for joining us. For the in-person, thanks for making the effort to come out to our home in Kansas. Again, thanks to Lauren, who's really made this happen. And could not have been possible without you, really. And yeah, go forth, do great things.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Safe travels, everyone.
Thank you.